What if I told you that the most dangerous moment of your entire day happens before you even get out of bed? Not when you're driving, not when you're stressed at work, not even when your heart races after climbing the stairs. The most dangerous window of time for your brain, especially if you're over 60, is the first 90 minutes after your eyes open in the morning. And the mistake that turns that window into a life-altering emergency, almost nobody talks about it. Not your family doctor, not the pamphlets in the waiting room, not even most cardiologists. I need you to stay with me until the very end of this video, because toward the end, I'm going to reveal something that I rarely share outside of my private practice, something that directly changes what you should be doing every single morning, and that most medical professionals simply never tell their patients. It could be the most important 5 minutes of health education you receive this year. Don't skip it. My name is Dr. David, and I'm a cardiologist. Over the course of my career, I've sat across from thousands of patients, men and women who had done everything they thought was right. They took their medication, they watched their diet, they went to their checkups. And then, one Tuesday morning, everything changed. A spouse found them on the bathroom floor. A daughter called 911. A life was split into a before and an after. And in almost every single one of those cases, when I looked closely at what happened in the hours before the stroke, I found the same pattern, the same invisible mistake, and it breaks my heart every single time because it is preventable. So let me ask you something directly. Do you drink a full glass of water first thing in the morning, before coffee, before anything else? And do you know what your blood pressure reads in the first 30 minutes after you wake up? Not the reading you get at the doctor's office at 2 in the afternoon, but the real number right after you stand up. If you answered no to either of those questions, keep watching, because this video was made for you. If this kind of honest, no-nonsense health content helps you, and I genuinely believe it will, please hit that like button right now and subscribe to this channel. It costs you nothing, and it helps me reach more people who need this information. And I want to know something. Leave a comment below telling me your age and where you're watching from. Whether you're 62 years old in Florida, 70 in Texas, or watching from somewhere else entirely, I read those comments and your story matters to me. Let's keep going. Here is the hard truth. After the age of 60, your cardiovascular system operates under a set of physiological rules that are fundamentally different from what they were at 40. One of those rules involves something called morning blood pressure surge. This is a documented, well-established phenomenon recognized by the American Heart Association. In the hours just before waking, typically between 5 and 9 in the morning, your body begins pumping out stress hormones, primarily cortisol and adrenaline, as part of its natural wake-up cycle. Those hormones constrict your blood vessels and increase your heart rate. Your blood pressure rises sharply. This is normal. Your body designed it this way so you'd have the energy to get up and move. But here's what makes it dangerous after 60. Your arteries are no longer the supple, flexible tubes they once were. Decades of normal wear, combined in most people with years of slightly elevated blood pressure, have made them stiffer, less elastic. Think of a garden hose that's been left in the sun for 20 years. It doesn't bend easily anymore. It cracks under pressure. That is what stiff arteries look like under a microscope. And when the morning surge hits those stiff, inflexible walls, the pressure spike is disproportionately higher than it would be in a younger cardiovascular system. Studies published in peer-reviewed journals like Hypertension and Stroke have documented that this morning surge is independently associated with a significantly elevated risk of cardiovascular events, particularly stroke, in people over 60. Now add the second element. You haven't had water in 7 or 8 hours. While you slept, your body continued breathing, sweating slightly, doing all the maintenance it does overnight. You are mildly dehydrated every single morning. And what does dehydration do to blood? It makes it thicker, more viscous, harder to pump. Blood that is even slightly thicker moves more slowly through narrowed or stiffened arteries, and it is far more likely to form a clot. This is not a theory. Blood viscosity and its relationship to clot formation is foundational cardiovascular physiology. It is taught in every medical school in the world. And yet, nobody seems to tell patients, your first act every morning should be to drink water, not reach for the coffee maker.
Now, I want to pause here and be honest with you, because this is important. For many people, especially those who've already had a warning sign or who already know their circulation isn't what it used to be, lifestyle changes alone can only go so far. And I've watched a growing number of my patients begin supporting their cardiovascular health with something more targeted than diet changes or generic supplements. I'll leave the first link in the description below. It's a method that a significant number of people are now recommending specifically for those who want to actively support their cardiovascular system. Unlike standard supplements, this approach is formulated and concentrated specifically to support arterial health and help keep your vascular system cleaner and more functional. I'm not here to sell you anything. I'm here because I've seen what happens when people wait too long, and I'd rather you have every tool available. Look at that first link when this video ends. Now, let's go deeper, because there's a third element to this morning danger window that almost nobody talks about. And when I tell you this, I want you to think carefully about your own routine. Most people who take blood pressure medication take it in the morning, and for many years that was the standard recommendation. But the research over the last decade has become increasingly compelling. The timing of antihypertensive medication profoundly affects how well it works during that dangerous morning window. A large study published in the European Heart Journal, the HYGIA Chronotherapy trial, found that patients who took their blood pressure medication at bedtime rather than in the morning had significantly better cardiovascular outcomes. Their blood pressure was better controlled during the overnight and early morning hours, precisely when the body is most vulnerable. Now, I want to be extremely clear. Do not change your medication timing without speaking directly to your own physician. Every patient is different. But if you've never had that conversation with your doctor, if nobody has ever asked you when you take your blood pressure pills, that conversation is worth having. Here's what the complete morning danger picture looks like. You wake up. Your cortisol and adrenaline surge, driving your blood pressure up sharply. Your arteries are stiffer than they were 20 years ago and can't absorb that pressure spike efficiently. Your blood is thicker than it will be at any other point in the day because you're mildly dehydrated. And your medication, if you take it in the morning, hasn't even kicked in yet at the moment your pressure peaks. Every one of those factors stacked on top of each other in the first 90 minutes after you open your eyes. That is the window. That is when more strokes happen than at any other time of day. This is not speculation. The clustering of strokes in the morning hours is one of the most replicated findings in cerebrovascular research. Now I want to talk about something that gets almost no attention despite the evidence. Chronic low-grade inflammation. If you're over 60 and you've been carrying extra weight, if you've had years of slightly disrupted sleep, if you eat a diet heavy in processed foods, even occasionally, you almost certainly have some degree of vascular inflammation. You can't feel it. There's no pain signal. It's silent. But what inflammation does to your vessel walls is this.
It makes the inner lining, the endothelium, rough and tacky instead of smooth and slippery. And rough, inflamed vessel walls are precisely where clots like to form. They are the biological equivalent of a torn patch of road where debris accumulates. Every morning, when your blood is at its thickest and your pressure is at its highest, that inflamed inner wall is the most dangerous place in your body. This is why the 3 pillars I'm about to give you are not random tips. Each one directly addresses one of the 3 stacked dangers in that morning window. Pillar 1, water first. Before coffee, before checking your phone, before anything, 16 ounces of water, room temperature or slightly warm if possible. This begins to reduce blood viscosity within 30 minutes. It is the simplest, most cost-free intervention you can make, and it directly reduces one of the 3 risk factors I just described. Pillar 2, know your morning number. Invest in a home blood pressure monitor. Take your reading within 20 minutes of waking, before any caffeine, while still seated and calm. Log it. If your systolic pressure, the top number, is consistently above 140 in the morning, bring that log to your doctor. A doctor who sees your morning readings has dramatically more useful information than one who only sees your afternoon reading in a clinical setting. You are your own most important diagnostic tool. Pillar 3, address the inflammation. This means prioritizing omega-3 rich foods, reducing refined sugar and processed oils, and for many people, looking seriously at targeted nutritional support. The science on Mediterranean dietary patterns and vascular inflammation reduction is among the most robust in cardiovascular medicine. This isn't a trend. This is decades of epidemiological evidence pointing in the same direction. Before I go on, if you haven't subscribed to this channel yet, please do it now. I publish content like this regularly, and every video I make has one goal: to give you information that keeps you out of the emergency room and lets you live a longer, healthier life. Hit that subscribe button. It takes 2 seconds. Do it for yourself.
I want to be honest with you about something. I've had patients say to me, Dr. David, I already knew about hydration. I already knew about blood pressure. And I understand. But here's the reframe I want to offer you. Knowing something intellectually and structuring your daily life around it are completely different things. The morning routine you build in the next 30 days will either make your cardiovascular system more resilient or more fragile every single day. This isn't about perfection, it's about compounding. Every morning you hydrate early, check your pressure, and eat in a way that reduces inflammation. You're making a small deposit in a long-term account. And the research on people who do these things consistently versus those who don't shows outcomes that are dramatically different over a 5- and 10-year horizon. I've watched patients in their late 60s completely transform their vascular health markers, not overnight, but steadily, measurably, over months of consistent mornings. And I've watched others, people who knew exactly what they should do, experience events that changed their families forever because they kept thinking they'd start tomorrow. You are not powerless here. Your arteries respond to how you treat them. Your inflammation levels respond to what you eat and when you hydrate. Your blood pressure responds to consistency and to informed, well-timed medication management with your doctor's guidance. None of this is out of your hands. If this video gave you something real today, if it shifted how you think about your morning, share it with someone you love who is over 60. Share it with your mother, your father, your spouse, your neighbor. You might not be able to give them perfect health, but you can give them this information, and that could matter more than you know. I'm Dr. David. I'll see you in the next video. Take care of your heart. It is taking care of you.